Hey, how's it going? Okay, today we're going to talk about turkey hunting. I started turkey hunting about 4 years ago. I've gotten 4 turkeys, so I'm fairly successful at something that I'm new at, but I watched a lot of videos about calling, about turkeys, studied whatever I can, and the internet's full of things that you can study about it. I've always used a bow. I have a shotgun set up with a turkey choke, and I have turkey shells, everything, but I've just stuck with the bow. And I've had good luck at it, and I guess studying the videos have paid off because, like I say, I've been successful 4 times now. And to be honest, turkey hunting up here, it's a new thing, northern Minnesota. I didn't think they'd live or survive up here because of the brutal winters and the deep snow, but they're doing fine. They're doing okay. And I don't know, people argue they started coming around 10 years ago, and I guess towards Meadowlands in certain areas, Brainerd and places like that, that holds true. Up here, 6-7 years is when I really started seeing them, and kind of about 5 years ago when they kind of took off. You hear people say, man, there's a lot of turkeys up here. Well, they see a flock of hens or a group of jakes and something, there's 8-10 of them go by, and they think there's a lot, but it could be miles before you hit another bunch or any more turkeys. It's hit and miss. You don't know where you're going to find them. The first turkey I got, I shot down, took the bow, and I saw a few as I was going down to my kid's place, taking Highway 4 through the middle of the Norways and in the White Pines, and I thought, hey, I saw this intersection. Every now and then I'd see a turkey in that area. I'm like, man, there's not a farm field or anything within 20 miles. But what they're doing is they do like Norways and White Pines because the branches are big and they like roosting, and they are one big bird. So they're up there roosting in that, and they go in, and they seem to really like, if you find where they logged out a big area for a couple years after they logged it, they're in there, and that's almost like their pastures or like the farm fields. So they really adjusted, Now I'm in an area here. Actually, I've only hunted this one little spot here once, and I had a few hens come in. I've hunted the other property just down the road a bit, and that's where I got 3 of them. And I got one off of Highway 4 up, taking a shot in the dark. I just thought I saw turkeys in the area. I found a nice big logged out clearing, hopped out and went and gave it a shot, kind of really not knowing what I'm doing. And man, when I saw that white head coming through the cuttings and the brush there, I was like, holy cow, I couldn't believe I called one in. So I was kind of hooked on it. What's cool about turkey hunting is you work it. You just don't sit like in a stand like for deer hunting and hope something comes by. You do your homework, of course, hope something comes by. Here, you try to make it happen. You call them. You never know which type of calling. I've done the hen calls. That usually works the best. Sometimes they're off in the distance. They're so far away sometimes here. You gotta call them a long way. I found if they're already with a bunch of hens, quarter-mile away, this and that, really tough to call them in. That's such a distance, and they have the hens already. So I try to get out beforehand, just as it's crack of light. And before I really hear any gobbling or anything, I'll start doing some hen calls, and that generally gets some replies, and if I work it hard enough, I can call them in. And the smaller food plots I have over there, it's a little tough because I'll go out, I call softly at first, in case there's one in the area, which there isn't usually. And I'll actually climb right out of the blind with some of those heavier wood, nice box calls, and I'll smack that thing and hope that sound carries. And if you hear a reply, bang, you're in luck. You start working it. I've had to work almost every turkey pretty hard and call from a long way off. I've called them out probably about that field. I call them from the back side of it. They have to come about 300 yards across the field, cross Highway 5, come through the woods to hit the food plot I'm on. So it's hit and miss, but it's a blast. I mean, I had one turkey, he wouldn't, I heard him gobbling. I tried hen calls. He just would not respond to it. So I thought, hey, with that box call, I gave a gobble, and man, that was it. He started coming across that field, and I'd gobble, he'd gobble. He just wanted to fight. He didn't even care if there's a hen around. I mean, he was just aggressive. And after quite a while, I got him in, and I did zip that one. So, yeah, I really got hooked on it. It's so fun to see if you can work those birds in. And there's times you sit and call, and you wait 2 hours, you call a while, and you wait again, and bang, all of a sudden one replies. You wonder, where was he the whole time? So, hey, there's a lot of days you go out and call and nothing happens, and I pack it up and go in. But yeah, I'm gonna just show you how I set up and what I do. Again, I've learned most of it off the internet. To watch a lot of those southern gents, you know, they've been doing it for years. And like I say, the turkeys are kind of a newer deal up to northern Minnesota. So it's kind of exciting, a new thing for me totally. And I know a lot of guys that go towards the cities or Rochester or over towards Brainerd to hunt them. They're here, just not as many, you know. So I thought I'd show you the setup. Okay. A little bit of a wrestling match, but we got it up. Like I say, I kind of forget what I'm doing and how to pull it up. You know, you got to pull that top part in the middle first. But okay, as you see, to make life a little easier, I tied my own ropes on here and strings, and that way they're longer. For one thing, pulling it, I can pull and set it up a lot easier than hanging on to something little cutting into your hands. And I'll tie it off to trees around it. And I went out and I bought my own spikes. Went to L&M, picked up some nice size spikes. I stick those into the ground, you know, to hold her down. You do have to hold it down. I mean, let's say it's real calm. You never know if the wind's gonna pick up. So what I do here, I'll open her up. I actually, being that I'm, you know, if I have the right chair, I wouldn't have to do it, but I actually take and I push and fold this down to get this as low as possible. Now, some people will only open up a bit here. I find I try to get as much open as possible. I don't leave the screening part up and shoot through the screen. I open her wide open like this. So I find if I go in and shut the back, and now the sun's setting to the west here, wouldn't necessarily want, you know, I usually, my best luck for turkey hunting's in the morning. So I'll try to not face it directly into the sun. I have, and I've scored, and I've had turkeys come in because they had no other option. You just sit real still and don't move. One thing, if you're in a blind, you don't need camo. You might want to wear dark clothes because the whole thing is dark inside, and if you zip up the door, it really keeps it pretty dark in there. I've looked from a distance, and it's hard to see into. Right now the sun's perfect, kind of shining into it, but you get set up, you can't see into it. It's just a black box there, and they don't see into it. And once I have the chair set up, I'll take the bow and make sure that arrow is going to clear this here. With my better chairs, no problem. I raise them up, but sometimes you bring your little portable chair, whatever, the wrong chair. Just make sure that arrow is going to make it over the top of this. So that's the blind. I often set it back a bit. You can actually have it kind of right out. It's not, the turkeys aren't going to panic over it, but I like setting her back a bit. You know, when I set it on my normal food plots, I set it back and pull her. I have a little hole into that, you know, woods at the edge of that food plot. Not for turkeys, but hey, if you're not getting turkeys in, it's so cool to watch a few does come in, you know, because the winter rye is just coming back to life, some of the clover. You can see the rabbits hopping around, a couple partridge cruise by. So setting it off is good for that. You know, you get to watch other wildlife. Like I say, the turkeys, they're not going to really worry about it too much. So that's that on that. Now this is what I picked up this backpack. Man, it just worked good. I didn't necessarily even have turkey hunting in mind when I picked it up, but it holds a bow. You can haul it. That's real nice. Holds a bow nice. So I go back. I'll take that electric mountain bike, and I can strap the blind across the back on that rack, and I can put this right on my back and go get back to wherever I want. Dead quiet. It's a good deal. So I'll just show you how I pack this. There you see the bow strapped on. It's pretty nifty. There's all sorts of decoys you can get. Some are so realistic, it's pretty cool, but they're solid, they're big. I couldn't get them in here. I take a regular hen decoy and a jake decoy, because you want those gobblers to come in ticked off. They see that jake, they want to fight them. That's a younger turkey, and they want to come in and fight that jake. They get wound up. I notice they'll go look at the hen a little bit, but man, they zero in on that jake. I bet you wouldn't even have to bring a hen turkey. You know, just get that jake there and really sets them off. But I'll show you how I set the decoys up. But I do bring a hen decoy and a jake. And as you see, they fit in here because the rubbery material they are pops into place. I can roll them right up and fit them in this backpack. There you have the decoys. Zip that up. Here I have my calls. Some more calls. I end up usually using 2 different types of pot calls. I bring a number of striking sticks for them. And up here in Minnesota, you really want to make some noise and call out. So what I generally use, I use the pot call a little bit, I guess just for something different to use and occupy myself. But I usually use the mouth calls or my box calls. The box calls, I really nail them. You got to hang right outside that blind once you know nothing's in the area, and wrap them out and do some, you know, do the best hen you can. Here's side pockets where I put my box calls, one on each side. Works really good. As you hear, I made noise with this one. I usually strap a rubber band around it, but these box call holders, that's a ticket. They don't make a sound, because you really don't want to be making noise pulling that out like I just did. That one I usually wrap rubber bands on, but I'm going to be buying one of these pouches for them there. And here's the box calls here. You can buy cheaper ones. You're going to get turkeys in. No doubt about it, you know. But I do like these little bit heavier calls, because you can really call out. They're good and loud. You can call out. And I do use, for this, I often use 2 different calls. There's a slightly different sound between the 2 of them. Does this help? I don't know. But I was having trouble to get those gobblers to come in. They seemed to already be, had their females, had the hens up with them, and they didn't want to come in. They'd gobble, but they didn't want to leave the ones, you know, and come that distance. They already had hens. So what I'd do is I'd get there, and just as the sun was breaking, a little before you hear the gobbling or those hens coming down, I do what they call fly down cackles. I do one with this call. A minute later, I do one with this call, and I'd switch back and forth. It sounded like hens were coming down. Those gobblers went ballistic, thinking hens were off in the distance coming down out of the trees, and it sounded probably to them like a couple different hens. So I gave that a shot, and it really worked. I got the big one coming in that way. Like I say, I'm just going off the internet on this stuff and what I've seen, but hey, it seems to work. I've gotten a couple turkeys this way. Here's a couple of the pot calls. This one's A lot of people swear by the crystal calls, you know, the glass crystal and stuff. I really like them myself. I do. It rings out real nice. That's, like I say, you can see, walk up a little closer. Real nice calls here. They cost a little bit, but they really do the trick. You know, great company here. And took me a little bit to get used to the crystal call, but I liked it. You know, it's a pretty good call. The old standby, yeah, I got all my strikers. They do make a little bit different call, and they seem to work a little. Certain strikers work better with the crystal call. And here I have the old standby, and this is great. I mean, you can do purrs with it, and you can really work this call nice. You know, that's a slate call here, and you can work it pretty good. I like it, like the purrs and stuff like that. I can get really good with it. So, okay, now I figure I'll show you how I set up the decoys. Okay, so I'm about 13 paces out. I try to get them pretty much, you know, right in line with the blind. Now I actually put them at a slight angle, but facing, I gotta put this one a little closer so that Jake is at about 13 yards. There you go. Got that one kind of facing the blind. That way when they come in, they'll want to get in front to strut in front of this gobbler. And also, what you're doing when you're calling turkeys is, in nature, the hen yelps, the gobbler replies, and the gobbler expects the hen to come to him. Now you're trying to reverse what's natural for the turkey. You do the yelps, you keep yelping, he gobbles, but you're not going to him. You're going to try to make Tom come into the hen. Again, that's just the opposite of what they do in nature. So you got to work against that, him gobbling and standing his ground. That's why I'll do the hen yelps, and when he replies, I might reply right away with a few yelps, but after that, I wait a while till he gobbles again. It's like I'm tempting him and teasing him. And he's coming into that hen before he can get there. I'll put him back just a little bit, like he's chasing after her, just to get that Tom wound up. Now what I'll also do, they're set up, everything's fine. One thing I'll do though, I suppose I could do it just for the camera. Being that it's really calm today, it's not a problem, but I don't want them spinning around. So I'll often take a stick and put to the side of them, like whichever way the wind's blowing, so he'll move around a bit, but the stick holds him from spinning or getting out of line. Do that with the hen too. Of course I use better sticks, they broke, you know, that's how it is. So okay, that's how I set up my decoys. Again, about 13 paces out, which is anywhere between 11 and 12 yards. And now you think, boy, that's pretty close, but you're trying to get that gobbler to come in. He might not come into 10 yards. He might hang back, and he'll move to the side and strut and such. So the closer you can get them in, especially with a bow, the better off you are. Because like I say, it's hard to hit that kill zone of those turkeys. You know, you really concentrate where it is, and it's a small kill zone, about the size of your fist. Speaking of kill zones, there's a point where the wing comes together, comes down, and I find that point, the 3 points where the feathers come together, and I keep it high, because the heart in these things is actually relatively high. There's that old saying, hit high, they'll die. Hit low, they'll go. So yeah, you want to aim a little higher than you think. Now that's one spot, and I've hit there, and I bet that one turkey hardly went 8 yards and dropped. That was the best thing. That was great. He bled out just like that. He was dead. I have hit him. Some people will say where the 2 legs come up, you take out the wings and the legs, and then they can't fly. So that's another spot. And then another spot, if he's facing you, you can hit is, you know, on the top, gobblers, you have a lot bigger beard here. You take here, between here, and just a little above that beard, you can stick an arrow through there too. Those are probably the best places to hit. There's some guys, they'll take and hit, you know, the imaginary line where the backbone is, you know, hit right through the back there, and that'll come up through the vitals. If I'm going to shoot, I'll take the front shot, the leg shot, but I actually usually try for that heart lung area. It's a small area, but that's what I've got, you know, most of my turkeys hitting there, you know. And it's interesting too, is I hit one turkey and those arrows go through so fast and they're so sharp. It passed right through him. He jumped back and he just went nuts thinking that the decoy kicked him or spurred him. He started tearing into that and he waddled around and walked off and died. It's almost like he didn't have the arrow pass through him. Again, this is something kind of new to me. I've only been doing it 4 years. I'm no expert. I'm just telling you what works for me. I've gotten 4 turkeys in a 4-year period. Doesn't make me anything special. I just like doing it, and I studied up on it as much as possible. And when I've called them, I listen for the replies, and it's a little bit of a head game. You try to understand, because you're communicating with this bird, trying to get him to go against his natural instinct of waiting for the hen. You have to tease him to come to her. Might want to stop this thing going good.